Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you decide you're going to watch this. Um, Apologize for no intro music. I must say that it's pretty late here in McDonald, Pennsylvania, and the kids are sleeping, so I'm not going to wake them up with some Beethoven, Bach, or Neil Diamond. Those three, they're kind of in the same category there. Anyway, after grading your last batch of long essay questions and the responses in regards to the scientific revolution prompt from chapter 16, I got to be honest with you. Sorry, a little under the weather here. I'm pleased with our progress. I really am, collectively. And from my end, one of the toughest things is to try to mold you to perform well on the written portion of the exam, when in reality you all come from so many different English classes, levels, and backgrounds. Which way is right, which English teacher's philosophy is correct, is mine correct. I got to be honest, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that you conform to this format to hopefully, really in reality, we're trying to get a 3 or higher on the AP exam, which is coming up here in May. So I realized that, a lot of you might actually be starting from scratch. In terms of historical writing, taking a higher level class that requires some higher level writing, and in some ways starting from scratch, it's not necessarily a bad thing. And there's also a lot of you that are really sophisticated, authors, writers, honor students, English students who are, certainly future Pulitzer Prize winners. And let's face it, that's okay too. However, the bottom line is, if you all follow this format, and though you may not think it's the best, that's okay. It really is. It's the most efficient way to try to score a 6 out of 6 on the LEQ and perhaps a 7 out of 7 on the DBQ portion of your exam. So the objective of this lesson is we're going to reflect on the different portions of the rubric. We're going to really look at the rubric all week, but today we focus on how do we, and I guess we refocus on how do we compose an efficient introductory paragraph. You guys know that I like to be cheesy, so here's a cheesy update time. I've been using this slide for forever. I can't even tell you where I got it. I didn't make it up. I'm not that sweet. I actually don't really care for hamburger method. I like their hamburger helper. I like to do things from scratch. But I really do. I want you to think of this essay as a nice, juicy double eagle burger. Do they still serve those things in the cafeteria? Especially since the Michelle Obama school food doctrine that's been handed down, where you can't eat fries every day for lunch, God forbid. But anyway, I've been using this analogy for years, and certainly I didn't invent it. A lot of people actually use it. So really, if you look at it, the top bun is your introduction with the thesis. In your introduction, you have that broad statement on the topic question. And your thesis consists of 3 subcategories, hopefully 3 subcategories. Sometimes it may be okay to use 2. But it's really the 3 points that you're going to make or prove in the essay that makes up the body. And then certainly in between, you have your ketchup, lettuce, pickles, onions, your condiments, of course, and that really makes up the middle part of your essay. The lettuce and the condiments might be your contextualization paragraph, and then of course the patties, the beef, if you will, is going to be your main body paragraphs with, of course, all of the specific evidence that you're going to use to prove your point. And then finally, the bottom bun is your conclusion. And, as you can see here, you restate your thesis, you recap your main points, and as we will work on later this week, you're going to certainly try to bring in synthesis. Okay? So let's talk specifically about that introductory paragraph. First and foremost, the broad thesis statement. We've mentioned this. You want a statement that opens, it's kind of like the topic sentence for the entire paper, but you're going to address all of what the prompt is asking for words. and you know, you're going to include any dates mentioned, of course, time and place. We've mentioned that before. And you're just basically going to turn the prompt into a statement. Now listen, this is usually considered bad writing. If you go to your English teacher, some of them, they're going to say, oh, that's horrible. Listen, I get it, all right? You know, some of you guys are like, why is he teaching us to write bad? Oh my gosh. But why am I asking you to do this way? Because, look, as I've mentioned, the readers that grade your AP essays will spend roughly 60 to 90 seconds on them, okay? That's all they have time to do. They're going to be reading hundreds of these. So the bottom line is, if you conform to this format, you know, you're really going to make it easier for them to find the information. And if you make it easy for them to locate information, you're going to better your chances of, you know, basically getting the highest grade that you possibly can. I'm going to be honest. Those of you who follow the format, I love you, because it took me literally, you know, a minute and a half, 2 minutes to grade your prompt. Those of you who didn't follow the format, I don't like you anymore. Of course, that's not true, but again, we'll grade each other's essays at some point, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so the second, third, and fourth sentences in your introductory paragraph, of course, are going to be your sub-thesis statements. Okay, really, it's really important to understand this, because these sub-thesis categories are going to preview the grouping for the first body paragraph, the second body, and the third body paragraphs. But the key here, where some of you guys are missing, you need to add analysis to these statements, these sentences, by, you know, explaining how or why this topic is important to the prompt. Okay, you know, really, the subthesis needs to always relate to the answering the question. So, like in terms of the prompt that we just did, you know, when you bring up this subthesis category, you need to certainly relate it back to why it's substantial to proving whether there was a scientific revolution or not. Okay, so what we're going to look at next is an example, a student example. One of you in my class, actually I combined a few of these, but this is I'm going to be very positive here. These are very easily fixable samples. Okay, so let's take a look at this student's work. First, we have the broad thesis. This is a first. Okay, right here we have the broad thesis, and you know, as you can see here, we've got mid-16th through the mid-17th centuries saw a revolution in science led by brilliant men such as Isaac Newton, and was seen as a turning point in European history. Again, time and place taken care of, check. Lays out the format. That's a pretty good broad thesis statement. So next, we take a look at the subthesis categories. Okay, okay, so here's subthesis number 1, and it says the debate between the heliocentric and the geocentric theory continued to be a debate that would be settled during this time. Okay, so I ask you, even though the topic is relevant, heliocentric, geocentric, I get it. You know, really what we need to ask ourselves is this, you know, does this debate between the two define why this is a revolution? Does this statement define why it's a revolution? And the answer is really no. How could we make that subthesis category better? Well, we could say something like, the astronomical debate over the geocentric and the heliocentric theory ultimately was answered and led to further astronomical discoveries, many of which conflicted with the teachings and dogma of the all-powerful Catholic Church. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is kind of an example of what a subthesis category should sound like, or really should look like. Okay, so again, it needs to kind of say how and why, you know, and you got to make sure that it answers the question, it fits in the context of what the prompt is asking. Okay, so let's go to subthesis category 2. Okay, this one obviously is about the human body. It says the human body was beginning to get a makeover thanks to the help of William Harvey. Shout out to Steve Harvey, of course. Love his work on the Family Feud. Rarely get to watch it, but every once in a while when I'm bored, I'll YouTube some of the the funnier moments in Family Feud history. If you haven't got a chance to do that, check it out. Also love this performance on the Kangs of comedy. Don't know if you've ever had a chance to see that. But anyway, William Harvey. Was William Harvey and his contributions to discovering new information on the human body important? Heck yeah, of course it was. But does this sentence answer the prompt, answer the question, and do it justice? And the answer is yet. No, it doesn't. How can we make it better? Ladies and gentlemen, there is hope. We're optimistic. We can make this better. So how would Mr. Sig do it? Here we go. New medical discoveries regarding the functions of the human body enabled a more secular understanding and unlocked the potential of scientists to solve and cure diseases instead of relying on religion. Okay, and again, I'll let you digest that. I'll let you wipe some of the tears from your eyes, because I know you're probably feeling like, wow, that was profound. Maybe not, but, really, let me read it again. New medical discoveries regarding the functions of the human body enabled a more secular understanding and unlocked the potential of scientists to solve and cure diseases instead of relying purely on religion. Now, again, by not mentioning William Harvey here, you have the opportunity now to bring up William Harvey, Vesalius, Paracelsus. You see what I'm saying? A whole host of other things where you're going to be able to bring in more evidence. And let's face it, you need to bring in as much evidence as you possibly can. So by, some of you, a lot of you actually would mention one person per subcategory, and really you weren't really helping yourself out there in terms of content. Okay, so let's look at subthesis number 3, and this would be the fourth sentence of your introductory paragraph. And let's see what this person had to say. They said the most significant development of the time period was also brought forth from Francis Bacon, René Descartes, and a little help from their friend Sir Isaac Newton, and other beliefs in the scientific method. Okay, so what do we have here? Is Bacon, Descartes, and Newton important? Yeah, surely, absolutely. That's a fair statement. But does this tell us how these people and how this concept was worthy of a revolution in science? Heck no, it does not really do that. So can we make it better? So how would I change this? I'd probably say something like, finally, the most significant change of this era was the synthesis in scientific thought which culminated in the scientific method, unlocking a new age in both natural and social science, which many believed all mankind's problems could be solved. Okay, so again, I'll give you another example here, but the key, by not saying just Newton or just Bacon. I mean, we could talk about all of these people. Descartes, Cartesian dualism. We could talk about the inductive, deductive reasoning, so on and so forth. A little bit later on, we'll talk about the definite don'ts. Many of you guys are, referring to you, or you're saying we. We could thank Isaac Newton for many things. First of all, don't use things. The word things just sounds like you don't know what you're talking about. And don't reference we, like me and you, or me, you, and him, whoever's sitting to your left, whoever's sitting to your right. Because although they might be important to your life, we are not really important to the topic here, which is history in terms of Europe and in terms of the scientific revolution. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings or anything, but let's face it, we're here, we're learning, and you know what? Really, I'm going to stop there. That's good enough. Just a quick reminder, the subcategories, if you were absent that day or whatever, we're talking about the topics in your thesis. I just want to make sure that you understand that those subtopics and categories will make up the topic sentences in your main body paragraph. Talk about that in a second. Now, again, some of you guys are like, where am I getting these concepts, social, political, economic? Well, I've taught you Persia, but here are some other topical examples that you want to start with when you're trying to find out how you're going to answer these prompts. So always start with these and move to be more specific. All right. Now, here's an excellent example that a student composed from the last potential rubric. So I'm going to share that with you too. Let you guys know how some of your peeps are performing here. And again, there's hope for all of us to get on the same page here. So, in the 16th and 17th centuries, contributions of natural philosophers such as Copernicus, Galileo, and Descartes generated a turning point in European history. All right, let's use my trusty tool here. I feel like John Madden. Let's see. Let's change the color. Let's change it to maybe like KO color. So here we go. Did they do time and place? Check. All right. Next subcategory, thesis 1. In regards to astronomy, there's a category. Boom. Copernicus disproved Ptolemy's geocentric conception in his book On the Revolutions of the Heavenly Spheres, devastating the minimal understanding of the universe previously upheld. See how there's analysis in there? Hey, this is what happened. This is why it's important. Let's go to subcategory 2. The discovery of the heliocentric theory, which was defended by the likes of many. Notice I didn't say Galileo and limit myself. Now I can talk about Kepler. I can talk about Tycho. I can talk about whoever the heck I want to that this topic is related to. But anyway, it's important because it led to new discoveries challenging the traditional authority of the Catholic Church. Boom. That's pretty profound. I like it, whoever you are. As this age progressed, scientific discoveries sparked a chain reaction and led to the founding of scientific method, which unlocked a new age in both natural and social science, which many believe all mankind's problems could be solved. Little shout out, little synthesis there, if you will, to the Enlightenment. Very good stuff. Okay, so if we took that last prompt, our first paragraph would be the 4 sentences, the intro with the thesis, 3 sentences with subcategories. Then we'd have the contextualization paragraph, which we'll go over later this week. Then the main body paragraph, number 1, would be about the heliocentric theory, Copernicus, Tycho, possibly Kepler, Galileo. The next paragraph, 4, would be main body paragraph number 2, which would be all about the diminishing prestige of the religious authorities, such as the Catholic Church, the Lutheran Church, and Luther, and how they handled Copernicus and Galileo on house arrest, so on and so forth. Paragraph 5 would be main body paragraph number 3, scientific method, Descartes, Bacon, Newton, all of that stuff, inductive, deductive, so on and so forth, yada, yada, yada. And then the last paragraph would be the conclusion, where we'd have synthesis. We'd mention, the long trip that we've been on this year, humanism, maybe even start with the Dark Ages, humanism, let there be light, skepticism, then there was the Renaissance, and then it led to a lot of these ideas, these scientific philosophies led to the social philosophers that we know and love as the philosophes, Voltaire, Rousseau, and the boys. And we got ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, we would definitely have ourselves a 6 out of 6. So as great as you're feeling about all this, and that you're having these epiphanies now, and you kind of feel like you now are living in the Enlightenment, I must tell you, there's a catch. Your assignment from this class, again, this presentation, you can use it anytime. You could review for the AP exam, but this was at 10:38 p.m. I made this at December 6th, day before a date which will live in infamy. But the homework that I'm going to assign in the next class is, of course, you have to finish your reading 17.2 from over the weekend, but you got to come up with your own new introductory paragraph which follows all the formats that we covered in this presentation for the following prompt. Analyze the factors that led to new ideas regarding society and human institutions that developed during the Enlightenment period. Taste some of that, and I hope you guys just kill it. All right, politically incorrect terminology. I just hope you guys really crush this prompt. I hope you dominate this particular introductory paragraph. I hope you just bring it. All right. Anyway, good night. See you tomorrow. I'm out.